IVM.
So, Kumari, we were talking about the mitochondria, right? I know there's another product that you've created for the mitochondria. You're talking about red light. This is how we started talking about the brain. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. The mitochondria, like I said earlier, are the the energy factories of your body. And one of the key ingredients they create is ATP, adenosine triphosphate. And when they're creating ATP, a few other amazing processes happen. One is we create a lot of nitric oxide, which is really important for the body for signaling, for keeping your arteries healthy, for maintaining good blood pressure.
Vasodilator, right? Opens up.
Vasodilation, nitric oxide. And thirdly, it actually releases antioxidants, right? So if you're able to impact your mitochondria without giving it extra glucose, right? So remember, the mitochondria feeds on oxygen and glucose,
Right.
So one way to activate is to eat more food, which we don't want to do, right? So the other way is light. Now, if you look at the entire light spectrum of natural light, the wavelength which the mitochondria uses best is red and near infrared, not the far infrared version. So the far infrared version is what we would have seen 20, 30 years ago or even now, which generates heat, a heat lamp,
Correct.
a red colored heat lamp, which you use for muscle pain or
Our grandparents
tissue
used to,
repair.
yeah,
Exactly.
correct.
Parents would put it on the back or knees, etc. We don't do that because that is not empowering the mitochondria to produce any of these three things that we discussed. Red and near infrared. So near infrared is invisible to your naked eye. You cannot see near infrared light just like this. You can use it. You can see it with your phone camera actually.
Correct.
Right. So we use that, and we are using LEDs. So near infrared or red light therapy, the scientific terminology is photobiomodulation, using photo light to modulate your biology.
Right.
Right. It has been in existence clinically for more than 60 years across the world. And more than 100 million patients globally have used the technology. Earlier, it was being delivered through lasers, right? But in the last 15, 20 years, LEDs have taken over for obvious reasons where they are not as damaging. There is no risk of, heat being generated, burns, or you overdoing it.
And cheaper.
And it's way cheaper, right? And you can take it out of the clinical environment
Correct.
and give it to somebody at home, right? So it's become a wellness device now, right? So we've got two devices, both you have used. One is an intranasal device and one is a transcranial device, which is a cap. Very, very intuitive on why we would shine light in your nostrils. One, you have ample blood capillaries there in your nostrils, so which means the ATP which is generated can be easily carried throughout your body, right? Two, out of the 12 major arteries that you have in your body, 5 are running through your nose.
Okay.
So if you shine light here, the capillaries are being used for the rest of your body. 2, you're activating 5 arteries. And third, very important reason is the light actually passes right through your nasal cavity to the underside of your brain, where it's very difficult to get light, right? So you're actually getting it now, right? Now, why would I want to shine light in the brain? Remember, we discussed the maximum concentration of mitochondria in your entire body is in your brain.
Correct.
2 million mitochondria per neuron into 100 billion neurons. So if you're able to power your brain with red and near infrared light for more ATP production, for more nitric oxide, for more antioxidants, what are you getting? You're charging up your body's ability to fight inflammation better, to easily maintain blood pressure, keep your arteries healthier, for all your mental and cognitive processes, emotional processes. Many a times we don't realize we are just low on energy and we feel, oh, I'm feeling sad and depressed. It's just you're feeling low on energy. That's it, right? Many times you're feeling irritated or anxious. It's a function of low energy as well, right? So if you're able to power your ATP, higher ATP in the brain, makes all the difference. All of those conscious activities which you're doing to change, improve, feel more cheerful, feel more alert, will happen like that. So that's the nasal device. The second one, which you've also used, is the cap.
Correct.
So the cap has way more LEDs than the nasal. Why? Because the light actually has to pass through the skull, which actually blocks out most of the light. So very little passes through.
It actually passes through the skull?
Yes, absolutely.
How can the light pass through the skull? Like, we would think of the skull as being completely solid, right?
Right, but the light does. So near infrared, certain wavelengths are proven to actually pass through bone,
Okay.
right? And that's when they start landing on the surface of the brain and start getting absorbed by the mitochondria then. And then it's a reaction inside. You know, the mitochondria on the surface are generating more ATP, passing it down, so on and so forth, right? So the reason there again is, can we directly go to the brain in a more concentrated manner just to give it light, right? So again, you've used it, you know, there is no electric current being given, no magnetic wave. It's just pure natural light, which we are using technology to give you a specific wavelength, which is easily absorbed, which is safe, which will not unnecessarily generate too much heat, because that's not what the desired effect is, and which will give you the natural effects of better mitochondrial function. Over the last 10 or 15 years, there is compelling evidence now that almost all your chronic issues, all chronic diseases are linked to mitochondria dysfunction,
Right.
where your mitochondria are not functioning as well as they used to. That's one. The second is very interesting, which is now called the mitochondrial theory of aging. That we age because our mitochondria don't generate that amount of ATP, antioxidants, anti-inflammatory molecules, and nitric oxide. So if you're able to power up your mitochondria, you can get better skin, more collagen, better cognitive abilities, all of the above which the mitochondria were powering. If you're able to give this naturally, without any chemical input, without any glucose input.
Correct. The glucose would be adding to the antioxidative stress and all of that, right?
So that's something your body
Oxidative
already
stress, sorry.
has.
Right.
The glucose your body already has. We are just allowing the mitochondria to function better using it. Now, this is an interesting part. In the last few years, there's been amazing research that red light therapy, the variety that we are doing, not the heat ones, and the way we are administering it, it can actually help you lose fat. Common sense. If you're generating more
Energy.
without consuming more glucose, what is being consumed? The fat. So we are empowering the mitochondria to actually leverage the loose fat in the system to get more energy.
Interesting. Okay, cool. So the 500 calorie thing that we spoke about at the beginning of the podcast, full circle, and we come back to it. Amazing. Let me quickly show the products, so then we can. So if you're listening to this on the audio platforms, you can find it on YouTube or on my Instagram as well. So this is the hat, right? So it's got all your LEDs inside.
Yes.
Funky looking purple hat that we have. So I normally wear this when I am either working or I'm reading something, and that's when I use it. You said that it has a frequency that goes on and off as well, and you find it very relaxing when you're using that, correct?
Yeah.
So I think this is one fantastic product that you can do something, or you can have another habit going on along at the same time.
Absolutely. It's, as you would have seen, when you use it, either you can get some instantaneous relief
Correct.
or benefits, or accumulated benefits over a period of time. What are some of the things you've noticed? Let me ask you a couple of questions on this.
So with the nose, the intranasal device, right? So with the nose LED, there were 2, 3 really strange ones that I noticed. One was one day I was feeling tired and obviously felt more energetic, which is what you said. But there was this one day when I had done heavy deadlifts and my back was hurting. And I thought it was going to be the start of, that niggling pain that will go on for a week or two. And I used the nasal device and it went off by evening. The pain had completely disappeared. And I messaged you saying
Right.
that, listen, I don't believe this is actually happening. Is this a placebo effect or what? And just for your information, this podcast is not sponsored or anything like this. I've bought all of
Absolutely.
these things myself.
Yes, of course.
So, but it is amazing what red light can do for you. And you keep saying that wherever you feel pain, just put that red light on and see
Yeah.
what happens, see if it makes a difference.
Yeah.
Can I go to sleep can I put the cap on my face and lie down? Or is that too
No,
intense for the face?
No, we don't advise it on the face for two reasons. One, red light is actually good for your retina, but not all wavelengths.
Right.
And not all wavelengths for everyone.
Ah.
Right. So depending on, you might be having certain
Correct.
issues with your retina or not. So we kind of advise people not to directly look the red light in the eye.
But if my shoulder's hurting, I can keep it on my
Yeah,
shoulder.
of
Those
course.
kinds of things.
Of course.
for
Keep
sure.
it on your knee, on your shoulder, wherever. One of the other things you should be doing is, shining the light on your navel.
Right.
So the gut-brain connection. Shine it on any of the chakras in your body. You're giving that pure energy.
Correct.
Yeah. You're letting the physical location of that chakra, if there is a physical one, you're giving it the ability to generate more energy. So you should certainly do that.
So get one of these, play around with it and see what happens. And you can almost tangibly feel this change.
Yeah. I must say that, we've had a lot of clients who say, hey, is it just any red light? No, it's not.
Yeah.
Right? There's a lot of science globally now on what specific wavelengths. So even if I'm able to see the red color, it's an entire spectrum.
Doesn't necessarily mean this is what's going to heal me.
Exactly. So what we have researched is the specific wavelengths which are healing.
Correct. So you can't just change the bulbs in your house and have the same effect.
Exactly.
You need the
or you
specific-
can't just buy any random contraption and say, oh, just because it's giving red light, it'll
It's
heal.
work.
Right. And the near infrared, again, although it's invisible, it's of a certain specific wavelength, which is actually known to be able to penetrate bone and tissue well and be easily absorbed by the mitochondria. And all of these are, of course, safe.
Amazing. Amazing. Kumar, where can people find you, interact with you, have these discussions, or take this, what they've learned from this podcast forward?
So, as you said in the beginning, I run two organizations. One is NeuroLeap. So my website's neuroleap.science. And the second one for Arkani is arkaniphotobio.life. Please give us a shout. Happy to help you understand your brain better or help you, power up your body with more cellular energy.
Amazing. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Thanks a lot. Pleasure.
IVM